All right, looks like our webinar entrants have started slowing down, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the training today. So hello and welcome everyone to this Glide training session. My name is Justin Orr and I'm going to be your trainer for this afternoon. If you take a look at the bottom of your Zoom meeting control panel, if you do have any questions throughout today's training, you can just click on that Q&A icon and that's going to allow you to type in your question. Now, if you do have additional questions afterwards, or if you have any general troubleshooting questions, you can always reach out to our support team directly by sending an email to support@glide.com. Now, if you do need to make your screen a little bit larger during the training today, you can click on the top of your screen under View Options, and then that's going to allow you to chart a larger viewing size. If you're interested at all in attending one of our other live webinars, or if you'd like to watch a pre-recorded webinar, I'm going to post a link in our chat. And the first link is going to be the webinar registration. We do offer 3 different types of webinars. Today, I'm going to be covering everything about forms. We're going to go through how you can fill them out, add them to your document section, how you can send them off for signature. And then our additional webinars that we offer one for Glide for brokerages, specifically for brokers, where we show you our broker edition of Glide. And we also have an introduction to Glide and disclosures, where we talk all about those PED forms, talk about the disclosure forms, both from a buyer's agent and from a listing agent point of view. If you cannot join one of those live webinars, that's okay. We have those webinar training videos. That's the second link down in the chat. And if you click on that link, it's going to give you those same 3 options, the same 3 live webinars that we teach that are already pre-recorded. You can click on it, view them, fast forward, rewind as many times as you need to, just jump to the section to rewatch it. But it's the same training that I'm going to be going through today is already pre-recorded for you. So if you do need to watch those at any point in time, those are available on our Help Center, and you can go to help.glide.com to get access as well. So now I'm going to jump into our training for today. So give me 1 second to pull that up on my screen here. And what are we going to be talking about in today's training? Well, we're going to be going through how you can use Glide to prepare, fill, send, and sign every realtor form in California. It is going to take approximately 40 minutes of your time. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, through today's training, first thing we're going to go through is just an introduction to Glide, and then I'm going to show you how you can access Glide for free, and also make sure that you do get access to the CAR standard form library. In addition, I'm going to show you how you can verify an agent-TC relationship, so that way when you as an agent do get access to the standard form library, you're also going to be able to give access to your CC anytime that they're creating transactions on your behalf. We're also going to cover how you can create a new transaction, how you can add those state and local forms from your form library. And then we're going to show you how you can fill out those forms, how you can merge them together, how you can split them. And then we're going to show you the feature of Glide Signatures, which is our new e-signature tool. Lastly, for the training today, I'm going to go through some transaction templates and also how to create your clause manager. Now, during the training today, I am going to run through the entire training to make sure we can cover all the material. And then afterwards, if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We should have at least 10 to 15 minutes to go through those Q&A questions at the end. Let's go ahead and jump in with our introduction and just show you that the industry's old process of using those multiple forms of communication and those different applications to be able to complete your daily tasks, well, that can be confusing. It can be slow, and it leaves a lot of room for errors. Now with Glide, you can manage multiple parts of that transaction process all from one single platform. And we focus on collaboration, on compliance and forms, and we've even created our own e-signature tool. When you're using Glide, it's going to help you get tasks done faster. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you energy. It's also going to provide you with a much simpler, more modern interface, and that is going to make your transactions easier for all of the parties that are involved. And Glide is going to give users peace of mind with its safer design for filling out those forms, and more specifically, disclosures. Now, currently, over 1/3 of all of the homes that are sold in California are trusting Glide for their disclosures. And we currently have over 50,000 agents that are using Glide for their transactions, with a total property value of over $85 billion. And we've also partnered with over 60 different local associations and MLSs, and we currently hold a customer support satisfaction score of 95%. I do want to first show you how you can claim your free account and make sure that you can get access to the CAR standard form library. So since Glide is now a CAR member benefit, as a CAR member to claim your free account, you're first going to navigate to www.glide.com. That's just going to be our Glide homepage. Then you're next going to click on the login link in the upper right-hand corner of the page. From there, you're going to choose Continue with CAR on that initial sign-in page. That's going to redirect you to car.org, where you're then going to be prompted to sign in using your CAR credentials. You can enter in your username, your password, and then click Sign In. And after you click Sign In, you're then going to be redirected back to Glide, where you're now going to have access to that entire CAR standard form library. You will have to do that process only one time, and then afterwards, if you want to sign in with your email, you can do so. And we also recently launched our mobile application for iOS. That can be found in the App Store by searching for Glide for Real Estate Agents. If you only search for Glide, there's going to be a lot of options that pop up on your screen. So make sure you do type in Glide for Real Estate Agents. And then just look for that purple and white logo to make sure that you're downloading the correct app. Currently, it is only available for iOS, but we are working on an Android app that should be coming out later this year. All right, so the next process I want to show you, now that we've covered that overview, I've showed you how you can get access to the form library, I do want to show you how to verify that relationship between an agent and a TC to ensure that the TC can also have access to the same form libraries that you do as an agent when they're creating transactions on your behalf. So to verify the agent-TC relationship, in this screenshot, we are here in Glide as a TC, that transaction coordinator. You're going to click on the top right-hand side of the screen on that profile dropdown. From there, you'll select Account Settings. Then you'll go over to the left-hand side and select Account Preferences. Next, scroll down on the page, find the section, that tile that says Agents You Support, and you'll enter in the agent's email address on the right-hand side. After you enter in their email, click on Invite, and that sends off that invitation to the agent. Then the agent has two options, either from their email, they can click into their email because they will get an email invitation, and there's going to be a big button in the middle that just says Verify in purple. They can click on Verify and it'll verify that relationship. If you want to do it from the Glide, you can go into your Glide account, click on that top right-hand side, and this is as an agent now. Click on the top right-hand side on that profile dropdown, select Account Settings, and then on the left-hand side, select Account Preferences. So we're going into the same area. But now as an agent, you're going to find the tile that says Assistants and TCs, and look at the right-hand side, there's two tabs. Granted are going to be the requests that you've already received and you've already accepted from the TC. Any received requests that just came in, if you select that tab, you have two options. You can accept or ignore, and if you click accept, that's going to verify that relationship. So now your TC will have access to all of the same form libraries that you do when they are creating transactions on your behalf. And that's it. That is a one-time process. You do not need to do it again. It's just that one-time verification. All right, so now that we've gone through our introduction, showed you how you can access Glide for free, showed you how you can connect with the CAR form library, and how you can verify the agent-TC relationship, the rest of our training is going to be in the live environment. It's going to take about another 30 minutes of your time, and then we will go through and answer any of those questions that come into Q&A. Well, let's start it off. Let me jump into the live environment. Give me 1 second here to pull that up. And we're going to start off with creating a new transaction. So how do you create a new transaction if this is your first time in Glide? You're going to go up to the top right-hand side, click on that new transaction button. From there, it is going to ask you who is the primary agent for this transaction. Now, in my demo account here, I'm in here as Sarah Wall as the agent. But if I was a transaction coordinator, I would be able to select from my contacts list my agent from this list. And as long as I verified that TC and agent relationship, I would then have access to the same forms that my agent does. But for this example, I am going to select myself as Sarah Wall and then click Continue on the bottom right. From there, it asks you to enter in the property information. There's two ways of doing this. You can choose to search by the MLS. So for instance, if I click on the bottom, click on CRMLS, enter in that MLS number, and then choose continue, it would pull all that information from the MLS for me. I can also enter that address manually. If I type in an address here, let's say that we're going to enter in West Valley Boulevard in Colton, then I'll choose continue on the bottom right. And next it's going to ask, what type of transaction am I creating? Is this a listing? Is this a purchase? Let's say that's going to be a purchase in this case. And then I'm going to be able to select the status of the transaction. Is it already under contract? Or maybe it's pre-contract at this time. Let's say it's pre-contract. And then it allows me to apply a transaction template. Now I am going to go into more detail later today and how you can create these transaction templates ahead of time. But I do want to give you a little synopsis here while we're creating this new transaction. Transaction templates are going to allow you to add forms or documents to a template ahead of time. That way you can upload them directly into the transaction by just applying a template. Not only can you add those forms, but you can add parties ahead of time too. So for instance, if I have the same transaction coordinator that's working on all of my purchase transactions, I can add them to one of my templates. I can come in here, click on the dropdown, apply one of my templates. I'll use Sarah's purchase template, for example, and that would automatically add my TC in any of those documents that I added to the template ahead of time. So it saves you a lot of time if you set those templates up beforehand. So I will show you later in the training today how to set up those templates. Notice that I can also stack templates. So for instance, right here, I've already applied Sarah's purchase template, but I can click on this dropdown and choose another one as well. If you have, say, a purchase template, maybe another one is specific to HOA, or maybe for that specific region or that city, you can add multiple templates to the same transaction. When you've applied those templates, and that is completely optional at this time, I'll click continue at the bottom right. Then it's going to ask me for any other individuals that are part of my purchase team. Maybe you're working with another agent or your broker's information. Notice how it pulled over my TC from that transaction template, so I didn't have to add it here manually. However, I could do that at this time by selecting that bottom option. I'll click continue on the bottom right. Then it's going to ask for the buyer's information, and you can add up to 4 buyers on this screen. I can select add a buyer in the middle. If they are part of your contacts, and you can import contacts either from your Google account or from your Outlook account, and you can do that by going up to that top right-hand side in that profile dropdown that we saw before and going into your settings. You can upload those contacts from either Google or from Outlook. However, you do also have the option to create a new contact if it's not somebody that's in your contact list, you've never worked with them before. This is a new contact, select create new contact. Enter in all of their information and then scroll down to the bottom, click save. For the training today, I do have some contacts created. I'm going to use Maria Becker as my buyer. I'll scroll down to the bottom, click save, and then I'll click continue to go to the last page. This is just going to ask me for any additional details for this transaction before I continue to create it. I can select the drop down next to parties to view the individuals that I've added. I can click the drop down next to property information. And if I use that MLS import and I pulled it over from CRMLS, it would pre-fill all this information for me. I would have the option to add a cover photo by uploading a new image, and this essentially acts as your cover sheet. Anything filled out in these sections is going to pre-fill in any of your forms going forward. I can scroll down, edit any of the information for the listing, purchase, or commission, and then click continue at the bottom right to create that transaction. Once that transaction has been created, now it would be time to start adding those forms. Now, we do get a lot of questions about ZipForm, and I do want to let you know at this time that Glide no longer integrates with ZipForm because we now have a license to generate all of those CAR standard forms directly within Glide. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. There's 2 ways that you can do this. You can go into your documents section, which I'm going to show you in a couple minutes to upload documents, or under the suggested actions, one of these tiles says add forms to transaction. If I select on that tile, it's going to bring up this pop-up box. And on the left-hand side, I have the option to filter these forms. I can select just my purchase agreements, any of my residential forms, non-residential forms, miscellaneous, any of the libraries that you have access to are going to be down at the bottom. You can click to collapse or expand any of these folders, or you can search at the top by that document name specifically. Let's say that I'm just going to add a couple on my top here for an example. We'll add the additional agent acknowledgement and the buyer's affidavit, and then I'll click Add to Documents. Now notice on my screen, that's not only 2 documents, this is 4 documents in my documents section. That's because these 2 documents at the bottom were pulled over from my transaction template. So as soon as I applied that template, it uploads those documents into my general folder. In here, I can adjust this folder if I need to for the title. Click on that little pencil icon, and I can rename this section. I can add additional folders as well down up at the top right, just to create any type of organization for this transaction. I can add additional documents from the top right here. If I click on that dropdown, I can upload them directly from my computer. So if you do have your own forms that you'd like to upload, you can still send them off for signature. So I'll show you that process in a little bit. You can add forms directly from the form library that I just showed you, or you can even pull them in from DocuSign. If I click on the little paper with the plus sign, same 3 options that would come directly into this general folder. Now from here, I do want to show you how you can fill out one of those forms. So I'm going to click into my RPA as an example. And we have created something that's pretty awesome called a form outline in the RPA on that left-hand side. And we're even coming out with a new feature. Now, this just was released this week. It's a wizard for the RPA that's going to take you through that same step-by-step form filling experience that you would get with those disclosures. So if you are familiar with our disclosure step-by-step process with the wizard, we are creating that for the RPA right now as well. I'm not going to show you that today. I'm going to show you our outline on the left. And this essentially outlines the different sections within the form. If I want to go into my financing terms, for instance, I can click on the left. It's going to take me directly to that section within the form. Say I want to enter in my first loan information. I can click on first loan, type in the information. Let's say it's going to be 400,000, and it's going to show up on the right for me. The section that I'm filling out this time is going to be highlighted in blue. And anything I fill out on the left is going to show up on the right. If I fill it out within the form on the right, it's also going to show up on the left. So it's that 2-way sync. Now, additionally, let's say I go to my next section, it's going to drop right down. Any of these parts of the section that's grayed out means that it's not applicable at that time. If I choose to include my second loan, I can check the box on the left. Now it expands this field to allow me to fill out each section. I can enter in that second loan amount. Let's say it's going to be 100,000, and it shows up on the right, and it even calculates it for me in the form. Additionally, I do have some other features. I can click directly into my additional financing terms, for instance, and I can type directly into the form. I do also have the option to insert a clause, and I will show you how to set up your clauses later today, but I want to show you how you can insert a clause directly into a form. If I hover over this section, hover over that ellipsis, and then choose Insert Clause, there we go. It's going to allow me at the top left to add a new clause. If you don't have any created, this is your first time in Glide, you're not going to have any clauses. You can insert those new clauses by adding a title. That's just for your own information. What type of clause is this? Where it's going to be applied? And then the description is the exact wording that you want to add to that form. For instance, I've already created one in my clause manager ahead of time. That's called my RPA financing terms. I can select it on the left, click Insert, and that exact wording is going to be added to my form. And at any point in time, I can click into this and either add or remove information from that section. Then I can scroll down. I want to show you one more thing on the form, is this is what we call a link, such as the property address, for example. If I click into this section, it's not going to allow me to type directly into the form. It's going to bring this pop-up on my screen. Anything that's linked to the transaction within Glide is going to show as this pop-up as a link. That means if I adjust any of this information, such as the property address, it would actually change it for my entire transaction, and it would change it on all my forms. If I do not want to do that, and say I just want to make one small change on this form itself and not affect the rest of my transaction, I do have the option to unlink this field. If I hover over that ellipsis and choose Unlink Field, notice how it's going to ask if I want to have any form feedback. This is a newer feature. We are trying to get a lot of feedback on our products, a lot of new stuff that we're adding. I'm going to say I'm not going to send any feedback right now. And notice how it's now a teal color instead of this orange on the right. That means now that I can type and adjust the information directly in this form, and it will not affect anything in the rest of the transaction. It's only going to apply that change to this individual document. Once you've filled out this entire form, and you can do that from the form outline, from the form itself, or from that wizard that I had closed previously, you would save it on the top right. After you save it on the right-hand side, you have three options. You can download it, you can send it off for signature, or you can email it out of Glide. However, most agents are not going to do this from an individual document. They're going to do it from their document section with multiple documents at the same time. I'm going to click close on the top left. And then from here, I have checkboxes on the left-hand side of each of my documents. I can click the top one to select all of these documents in that list, or I can just uncheck it and check off a couple individual documents. Notice how that black bar now shows up at the bottom. On this bar, I do have the option to send them for signature, and I'll show you that workflow in just a couple minutes. We do have the option to download these documents, and that's whether they're signed or unsigned. You can download them at any time. We do have the option to merge documents together as well. If I click on merge and I want to merge these two documents together, and you can do more than two as well. I'm going to enter in that document name. I'm just going to say this is my merge PDF. And then I can choose to delete the original documents, click OK, and it's going to delete these two documents off my general folder, and it's going to leave me with my one merge PDF. Now, those two documents have not been permanently deleted. We have a deleted docs section here on the left-hand side. If I click into that, this will allow me at any point in time to restore these documents to my folder or to permanently delete them from here. In addition to merging, you also have the option to split documents. I do have my large 17-page PDF down below that I'm going to use as an example. If I click into it, and then I click on the top right-hand side, I have the option to split this document out. Once I click on split, it's going to detect those forms, and it's going to automatically split them out for me. Any of these forms that are not recognized, so now it's split it into my individual forms, any of these forms that are not recognized are going to be blank in this section here. That would mean that you just need to type in that title manually. I would have the option to delete the original document, select split, and then what's going to happen here is it's going to delete that original 17-page PDF. And remember, it's not permanently deleted. It will be in my deleted doc section. And then it's going to take me back into my general documents folder, and those documents will be split out individually. In addition, if I click on the left-hand side of any of these documents, I will have some additional options such as moving this into a different folder. Right now, I only have one general folder, so it's not going to move it anywhere. But if I did have different folders, I can move them between them. I can email this out directly from Glide by selecting email. This is another area where you can connect to Gmail and to Outlook. It would pull in all your information for your contacts. I can even choose who I want to send this from. I can send it from the Glide email from directly within Glide. So it would have your name, and then it would be a Glide email that goes to those recipients. Or I can choose from that dropdown if I want to send it from Google or from Outlook, even from within Glide's platform. I do have the option to choose who it's going to go to. I can edit that subject and the message in the body of that email. I can choose any additional attachments by clicking on the dropdown, selecting from my general folder. And I can even upload documents directly from my computer before I click send to send off that email. The last one I want to show you before we go into signatures is our stamp. If you click on stamp, we do have both a buyer and a seller stamp. It has two lines here with a date and the seller or buyer option for signatures. And you can place this anywhere within the document that you like. This one's not a great example, but I could click anywhere within here and allow those signatures to be added. Lastly, I do want to show you how you can send off documents for signature. We're going to use this RPA as an example, but you can select all of these documents or multiple documents at the same time, and then choose e-signature or e-sign. From here, it's going to give you two options. You have Glide Signatures, which is our new e-signature tool. It's 100% free for you to use. Or we do have a full integration with DocuSign. We get a lot of questions about how DocuSign works. If you are familiar with DocuSign and that's what you currently use, it's a full integration. There's going to be no difference in the functionality. However, we do suggest that you try out Glide Signatures, see how you like it. And that's what I'm going to be using for our example today. If I scroll down, I can choose any additional documents that I forgot to add that I want to send off for signature from my general folder. It's going to show me that the signature tabs have been detected. Now you can upload your own documents. I showed you how you can upload them from your computer. You can still upload them, go through either Glide Signatures or through DocuSign and be able to add those signature, initial, or date sign tabs manually. However, if it is a recognized form within Glide, then it's going to automatically add those signature tabs for you. You do have these two check boxes down at the bottom. The first one is to automatically add those signature tabs, which I do want in this case. But if for some reason you did not want that and you'd like to add them manually, you can just uncheck that box. And the second option is to replace the original. That original is going to go into the trash can, which is going to be that deleted doc section. And then it's going to replace it with the signed document afterwards. If you'd like to have both the signed and unsigned copy in your folder, you can choose to uncheck this section. But both of these will be checked by default. I'll click continue at the bottom right. And next it's going to ask me who needs to sign and who is just a recipient for this specific document. Now we do get a lot of questions in this section, so I'm going to answer a few of them ahead of time for you. The first question that we commonly get is, can you set a signing order? And the answer at this time is not currently. However, our product team is very aware of that and they're working on it at this time, and they've even started implementing some of those features. The second common request that we do get is, can I see who has signed and who has not signed at any point in time? And it is the same answer. Our product team is currently working on that at this time, not quite available yet, but I am going to show you, since I am in a demo account here, which also has some of our beta features, I'll share with you where they are adding that into our signature section. Now I do have two options for these recipients. I can choose for them to need to sign it, or I can just choose CC. So for instance, I can add a recipient, say this is Maria's lawyer, that just wants to view the document before Maria signs it. I'd be able to add their information, their name and their email address, choose CC on the right for that person, and they would receive an unsigned PDF copy of that document for review. Then we get the last question that we commonly get is, well, how would I send a signed copy to one of those recipients? Well, remember back in that black bar at the bottom when we had selected a couple documents, you have the options to download, which means that once it's been signed, it's going to be in your document section. You can just download it and send it outside of Glide through email or however else you'd like. Or you do have the option to email it from directly within Glide out to a recipient. So once it's been signed, it is going to be in your document section in that folder. You'll be able to send it from those two different options. Not part of our workflow here, but we do still have that availability. Once I have these individuals set, I'll click continue at the bottom right. From there, it's going to take me into my document where I can now start adding additional signature, initial, date sign tabs if needed. Scroll down a little bit on this form. It's going to show you those two different colors, one for each of the signers. I can see that by clicking under select a role. I have these two individuals with those two different colors. Say I needed to add an additional signature tab for my buyer. I can select on my buyer, click and drag and drop any of these tabs onto the form. I can do my initials, I can do date signed, and I can place them anywhere I want to within this document. We also have 4 additional tabs. We have a radio tab, which is essentially just a circle instead of a square for a checkbox. We have text, which is a great option if you need your seller or buyer to fill out a specific part of the form. You can even expand this over a specific section. And then we have a drop-down where they can select from a drop-down list of options. On here, if I wanted to delete this specific tab, I can click on the trash can on the top right. I would also have the option to choose, I'm going to delete a couple more of these. I can choose whether I want to make this signature tab, or it could be a date or initial tab as well, whether it's required or not. If I uncheck this box, notice how it's now going to say optional for that signature tab. If I check it, it is going to be required. And maybe I added this tab and I realize actually this needs to be for the agent to sign. I can just choose assign to, select my agent, and it'll switch over that tab color. So now it is going to be for my agent to sign. And in this case, that would be me. If I click on it, I can delete it, make sure this form looks clean, and then click continue. One more step in this process before you send it off for signature is just adding a message to those recipients. You can adjust the subject information. You can add a message here and say this is a long paragraph that you usually add whenever you're sending something off for e-signature request. You can enter in that message, save it as a template, and then the next time you come back in to send something off, you can choose apply a template. You can adjust the recipients or the documents one more time before you click continue to send it off for signature. Now I am in a demo account. It does have a fake email address, so it is going to void this document, but I do want to show you one thing first. I can go back to transaction, go into my signatures. It is going to say waiting for others. It is going to say void in just a second, but notice how it says sent. This is where we're working on that process to be able to see who has signed it and who has not at any point in time. This is not quite ready yet. It's still in our beta feature, but this will be available for our customers soon. But just to let you know, that is a feature request that we commonly get. We are working on adding that in at this time. Now, since it's already voided it, it's not going to let me resend it. But at any point in time, if there was an issue, I would be able to click on this ellipsis, and then it would give me the option to resend or to void. Since it's already voided it, it's going to let me know I can view it or delete it from here as well. Now, we do get a common question of what happens if my buyer, or in this case, my buyer reaches out and they say that they never received the signature request. Well, and you look at their email and you realize that either they gave you the wrong email or you might have misspelled it. Where can you adjust that information for that client? At any point in time in this transaction, you can go into details and parties. You can go into your party section, click on the drop down next to my buyer in this case, and choose edit. From here, I would be able to edit their specific email, scroll down and click save. And notice how I have not invited them to the transaction. In this case, there is nothing for them to fill out in my demo environment, but I would be able to select invite to transaction, would allow them to, in this case, start filling out any of those forms. If they were on the seller side, you can invite them to the transaction to be able to fill out those seller disclosures, for instance. But just in my demo environment, we do get a lot of questions. What does the not invited mean? That just in my demo environment, I have not invited them to this specific transaction. Now from here, I can go back into my signatures. I would click on that ellipsis and choose resend for signature. One thing I do want to make you aware of is if you resend it for signature, it's going to resend it to both of these parties in this case. It would send it to both Sarah and to Maria. Even if I only adjusted Maria's email address, it's still going to send it to both contacts or both parties. So you cannot just resend it to one, it would resend it to everyone in that particular transaction that you previously sent it to. Now, after you've created your transaction, you've merged documents, you've split them out, you've sent them off for signature, where can you track all of the information for everything that you've done for that transaction? Well, we do have this activity section down at the bottom left. If I click on that, it's going to pull up all of my recent activity. I can scroll down back to the beginning. It even has timestamps on the right-hand side. It'll show me I created my transaction, added my property. I applied that purchase template, which added my TC automatically. It imported that one document, which was from that transaction template as well. I added 2 documents myself, merged my PDF, split out my demo PDF into 7 different documents, or in this case, 6. And then I sent off an envelope for signature. And it even lets me know when that email is undeliverable. We even track emails that come into or out of Glide. Under email communications, I'll show you this email that had just been sent out to let me know that that signature request could not be delivered, but I can see the exact email that was sent. Not only can you see emails that are sent from Glide or coming into Glide, but we have what's called a unique email alias that you'll find in your document section. Right at the top here next to your general folder, you'll see this email address. If you click on this to copy it, you add it as a CC, as a carbon copy in any of your emails outside of Glide, it's actually going to pull that information into Glide so you can track it. So for instance, if I add this as a CC, as a reply to an email that one of my clients sent me a PDF that I asked them to fill out, well, that's actually going to be brought into Glide into my document section. And then I'm going to be able to view it under activity, email communications right here. I'll be able to even export it as a PDF as well. All right, so now that we've showed you all of that information on creating the transaction, I'm going to show you a couple features that are very helpful that you can create ahead of time, which is our transaction templates and our clause manager. Now, to create your transaction templates ahead of time, you go up to the top right-hand side, click on that profile dropdown. That'll allow you to click on transaction templates. From here, I do have a large list of templates that have already been created. If I want to create a new one, I'll select create new template on the top. Let's say that this is going to be my sample purchase transaction template. Then I have the option to choose that transaction type. Now, if you remember way back at the beginning, about 30 minutes ago, when we were creating that new transaction, and I was selecting to apply a transaction template, it only gave me a few options on my list. That's because it was only showing me the templates that were applicable to the transaction type I was creating. So for instance, if I do choose that this is available for a purchase transaction type, it's only going to show up as an option for me to select when I'm creating a purchase transaction. This would not show up for me if I'm creating a listing. Once I have that type set, I'll click Create Template on the bottom right. From here, I'll now start adding those documents. And I have the same 3 ways that I had in my document section. I can upload them directly from my computer. I can add them from the form library, or I can add them from DocuSign. And I do have the same 3 options by clicking on the paper with the plus sign directly into this folder. And I can add an additional folder at the top and continue to add documents the same 3 options. But let's say I did want to add in my RPA. I know it's always going to be in my purchase transactions. I'm going to click on Add from Library, type in my RPA at the top, choose it from my list down below, and select Add One Document. It's going to upload it into my template. And then from here, I do also have the option to add parties ahead of time. Say I know that I have the same transaction coordinator that's always going to be part of my purchase transactions. I can add that party ahead of time. I'll choose Add Party, select the buyer team TC in this case. If they're one of your contacts, you can add them from here. If you have not worked with them yet, or this is the first time they're working on a transaction, you can choose Create New Contact. But let's say that Valerie is going to be my TC for all of my purchase transactions. I can scroll down and then click Save. And in this case, you would not need to invite them to the transaction because there's no transaction created yet. This is just a template. So I would click Save, and it would add that TC to any of the transactions that have this purchase transaction template applied. I'm going to go back to my templates list. From here, I can hover over that template, click on the ellipsis, those 3 dots, and it gives me 3 options to choose from. I can edit this at any point in time, add or remove documents or parties. I can clone it, which does give me the option. Let's say that you're a TC and you're creating transactions or transaction templates for 3 different agents that you work with. Well, you don't have to create 3 separate transaction templates manually. You can create one, add all those documents ahead of time, and then just clone it and then add or remove documents as needed for that 2nd and 3rd agent. And you also have the option to delete it. If I select delete and then click OK, it's going to permanently delete it off my list. Now, one of the great things about our transaction templates and our form library is that since we connect with CAR, anytime CAR updates their forms, it's going to be automatically updated within our form library. And not only is it automatically updated in the form library, but it automatically updates those documents within the templates that you've uploaded as well. The only place where it's not going to automatically replace them is within a transaction itself. That's because if you're already halfway through filling out a form, or if you're about to send it off for signature, you probably don't want any new fields added or any adjustments made to the form. So we are working on a notification system at this time to let you know when those documents need to be replaced within your document section. However, it's not quite ready at this time, but our product team is working on that feature. In addition to templates, you can create those clauses ahead of time. So if you remember when we were filling out the RPA and I inserted that RPA financing terms, I'm going to show you how to create that ahead of time. You're going to go to your profile dropdown on the top right, select Clause Manager. From here, here's the RPA financing terms that I had selected. If I wanted to create a new clause, just click on Create New Clause at the top. Enter in the title. This is going to be my sample clause. And then I'd be able to enter in the description. That's the exact wording that you want to add to those forms. I'll click Create Clause to add it to my list. And at any point in time, I can hover over that ellipsis, choose Edit, or choose Delete. If I delete it, select OK, it's permanently deleted off my list. And one of the great features with clauses is that you can actually add the clauses to your documents within a transaction template. That way, when you apply that transaction template to a new transaction that you create, those clauses are already inserted ahead of time. So you wouldn't have to go through like I did in the RPA and manually insert it. You can just add them to the templates ahead of time. All right, so now that I've showed you how to create those transactions, how to apply those templates, how to add those forms, fill out the forms, send them off for signature, how to track all the information in the activity section, how to create those transaction templates and your clauses ahead of time. That is it for our official portion of the training. If you do have any questions at this time, please feel free to put them into our Q&A section. If not, I'm going to be jumping back into our slide deck for the next few minutes as we wrap up today's training. All right, so it doesn't look like any questions are coming through. We do have a couple more minutes. I'm going to go through our last couple slides, so feel free to put any questions that you do have. And let me pull this up on my screen. All right, so I do want to show you one more time how you can claim your free account and make sure that you get access to the CAR standard form library. You are going to go to glide.com, click on login in the upper right-hand corner, choose continue with CAR in that initial sign-in page. Then when you get to car.org, enter in your username, your password, and then click sign in. And that's going to redirect you back to Glide, where you're now going to have access to all 275 of those standard forms in the CAR form library. In addition, we do have our mobile application. So if you'd like to download that, this is a great feature, especially if you are going to be creating AVIDs. We do have a AVID workflow that you can do directly from the mobile application. Our mobile application has parity with our platform on just in a browser, so you can have the full functionality within that application. Now, it is currently only available for iOS, and make sure you type in Glide for real estate agents. If you go in and only type in Glide, you're going to get 50, 60 different options that pop up on your screen. So make sure you type in Glide for real estate agents. It's going to be the first one and only one that pops up for you. Make sure you see that purple and white logo to ensure that you're downloading the correct app. Now, it is currently only available for iOS, but we are working on an Android app that should be out later this year. However, if you do have an Android device, you can still use Glide on your mobile device. You would just need to use a browser on your cellular phone. All right, so it doesn't look like we've had any questions come in, and that's okay. We can, at any point in time, if you need to reach out to our support, you can reach them at support@glide.com. They're very responsive, very quick at getting back to you. If you're within the application itself, you can also go to, let me show you here, you can click on support within the application. And this is a chat window where we do have our support team who will be able to reply to you very quickly. Most of the time it's within 60 seconds. And then you can send them a message. And if they need to, they can call you and place an outbound call to help you resolve any issues. We also have our support with our Help Center. You can go to help.glide.com or just click on Help Center here. We have our daily webinars. Those are the ones where you can register for those live webinars. And we have the option to send an email to support@glide.com. But that is it for our training for today. So thank you for joining me, everyone. Now go enjoy the rest of your day.